Let's switch over to some Thunder basketball. Let's talk good basketball before we talk bad basketball, because I've got some thoughts. I've got some thoughts about the Sooners, and they're not good. But NBA, man, it is good. There are performances in this league that feel impressive. And then there are performances that just quietly change how you understand a team. And what we saw Wednesday night in Milwaukee, it was the second kind, because Oklahoma City, they didn't just beat the Bucks 122-102 on the road. They authored a game that felt decided about 6 minutes in, right? Built around a version of SGA that no longer fits neatly into the category of superstar scorer. This was SGA as infrastructure. 40 points, 11 assists, 7 rebounds, 16 makes on 19 shots. Absurd. But the most important number from that night, it wasn't 40. It was 38-18. That was the score before Milwaukee could even find its footing. And it didn't happen because the Thunder got hot. It happened because SGA turned the opening minutes into a live demonstration of how elite players now dominate games without forcing them. The Thunder opened up on a 7-0 run, and they forced 3 turnovers in the first 4 minutes of the game. By the time Doc Rivers called his first meaningful timeout, the Bucks looked less like a home team and more like a group still kind of waiting for the scouting report to come in on their opponent. The Thunder shot nearly 70% in the opening quarter. But the shot quality, it told the real story. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was improvised. The ball movement side to side, downhill, and outward again. The kind of offensive rhythm that only exists when the defense has already lost the argument. SGA didn't take over. He organized. And that distinction matters because take over, it implies chaos. It implies volume. It implies forcing outcomes. But this was the opposite. This was calm control. He was reading the Bucks like a live whiteboard where help came from, who hesitated on switches, which defender was overplaying passing lanes. Every possession just kind of felt pre-solved, not guessed, but solved. And by the end of the first quarter, the emotional outcome of the game was already decided. Milwaukee would spend the rest of the night chasing a version of the Thunder that really had already moved on. And what made this performance historically rare wasn't the scoring volume. We've seen 40-point nights. We've seen efficiency. But we haven't seen this level of efficiency combined with this level of orchestration. SGA became just the second player since 1980. Most of you guys listening to this podcast weren't even born. Just the second player since 1980 to post 40 points and 10 assists while shooting over 80% from the field. But even that stat undersells what actually happened. Because he didn't dominate touches, he dominated decisions. Every time Milwaukee shaded a defender toward him, you've got Mitchell appearing in space. Every time the Bucks tried to help, early, Kenrich Williams found himself cutting into open lanes. Every time Giannis switched on him, SGA just calmly backed out and reset the geometry of the floor. So this wasn't scoring. Really, this was quarterbacking. And that's what the shift, I guess that is the shift that makes Oklahoma City genuinely dangerous in a way that box scores don't capture, because he's no longer just the Thunder's best option. He's their operating system. Now here's the part of the game that I think should actually terrify the rest of the league. Oklahoma City was missing multiple core pieces. No Jalen Williams, no Alex Caruso. So you got a rotation that's held together with role players and situational lineups. It didn't matter. Because the Thunder didn't rely on individual brilliance to build a lead. They relied on spacing, reads, defensive discipline. And when you remove key players and the structure doesn't collapse, you're not watching a hot team. You're watching a stable team. And what Mitchell and Williams both added, scoring 18 points, those numbers, They were byproducts, not sources. They came from being in the right places at the right time inside a system that already knew where the pressure points were going to be. And that's what happens when a team's identity doesn't depend on who's available, only on how they think. And it would be easy to frame this as a Bucks failure. Milwaukee committed 8 turnovers in the first quarter. Doc Rivers even criticized his team's single pass shot offense after the game was over with. But Giannis finished with 19 and 14. But the game just never bent around him. All of this is true. But the more uncomfortable truth is that Milwaukee, they didn't play badly. What they did was they played slowly. And in today's NBA, slow is fatal. So the Thunder didn't overwhelm the Bucks with size or with athleticism. They just overwhelmed them with speed and decision-making. Every Thunder possession felt one move ahead. Every Bucks possession felt reactive. That's not a matchup problem. That is a philosophical problem. Milwaukee still plays basketball like a team trying to find the best shot. Oklahoma City plays basketball like a team that already knows where the best shot is going to be. And that difference, that is everything, because the most telling detail from this game is also the simplest. The Bucks, they never led. Not once. So you got no momentum swing, no early punch, no crowd surge, no emotional shift. From the opening tip to the final horn, Oklahoma City controlled the environment. And control is the rarest form of dominance in professional sports. A lot of people can win a game. Very few teams can prevent their opponent from ever forming opposition. And the Thunder, they've quietly become one of those type of teams. Not because they're explosive, though they are. Not because they're deep. We saw Wednesday night, that's what they are as well. But it's because they dictate tempo, geometry, and emotional flow in ways that they just don't show up in the highlight packages. What they do is, as your opponent, they're going to remove your options. Every great team goes through phases, right? First you're talented. Then you're competitive. Then you're dangerous. And then you're just inevitable. And Oklahoma City is entering into that final stage. It's this version of SGA. It doesn't need signature moments. All right? He doesn't need to take over sequences or fourth quarter heroics. He's done that and he can do that, but he can win games in the first quarter as well, on the road, without drama, without noise, without needing to remind anyone who he is. And that's the difference between a star and framework. Stars win games. Frameworks, they shape reality. And frameworks scale. They survive injuries. They survive bad shooting nights. They survive hostile arenas. They survive playoff pressure. Milwaukee didn't lose because SGA posted 40 points. They lost because Oklahoma City no longer needs him to have a 40-point night to feel in control. And I think that's the part of this situation that the rest of the league should really be paying attention to. Not the points, not the record, not the standings. The fact that the Thunder now walk into buildings and decide how the game will feel before anyone else gets to say. That's not dominance, that is authority. And authority is what real contenders eventually learn how to build. And Oklahoma City has built a lot of it.